Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Jen. I'm here in Melbourne, Florida, and I want to give you a garden tour today. Now my climate is super hot and super humid, especially at this time of year. So what I want you to get out of this video is an understanding that yes, your Florida garden can still thrive in the middle of summer. Let's get into it. I'll start by showing you what plants I've got growing in my longest raised bed on one side of my backyard. This is a 2.5 foot by 21.5 foot raised bed, and it's full of sweet potatoes, eggplant, peppers, and lots of marigolds. Let's take a closer look. Now right here you can see my chives right here in the front, and then sweet potatoes. There is one sweet potato slip that I planted right here, and all of this vine is coming off of that one sweet potato slip. Take a look at these beautiful, beautiful sweet potato flowers. One of my favorite things about growing sweet potatoes. Back there you'll also see some green onions growing. More chives, Thai basil, some kale, and then I've got my eggplant that's thriving. If only I liked eggplant, huh? Right here, my oregano and parsley still seems to be totally thriving. Back there is a shishito pepper plant. I love shishito peppers. They're so good if you just blister them in the frying pan in the morning with your eggs. And right here we've got so many marigolds. The bees are just loving it. Another spot of sweet potatoes. Look at that vine again. This is a great way for you to keep your trellises full in the summer. Highly recommend planting sweet potatoes. The thyme is also doing really well. Thyme, oregano, and chives seem to do great in my raised bed here in Florida. Now on the opposite side of my backyard, I have 3 raised beds that are 2 foot by 8 foot long, and then I've got some fruit trees. So I'll walk you through each one of these raised beds and what plants I've got going in them, and we'll look at the health of the fruit trees. Okay, this is raised bed number 1 with a self-watering wicking cells on the bottom. This raised bed is full of probably the least developed plants, but these are plants that should last like 2 to 3 years if I treat them properly. I've got 2 Everglade tomato plants, which I want to use as a nice privacy screen between me and my neighbor. I also have a few early jalapeno plants, shishito pepper plants, and Cali Wonder bell pepper plants. Those are all varieties that tend to do really well in Florida heat and humid conditions. So I'm excited about this raised bed, and in the fall I plan to do a lot of herbs like basil and cilantro and intermix a whole bunch of onions right in this raised bed underneath some of these plants. This is what I mean about our humid and thunderstorm conditions in Florida. We're in the middle of rainy season right now, and we're getting thunderstorms at least once a day, maybe twice a day. Let's take a look at my new Barbados cherry tree. I actually have a really good friend that's a neighbor of mine. She accidentally bought a second Barbados cherry tree without remembering that she already had one. So she just was nice enough to give it to me. I repotted it because it was growing out of the little one that came from the store. And so far we have like really great flowering going on. I'm excited to try these cherries. Now moving on to raised bed number 2, we have 2 South Anna butternut squash plants right here on the ends, and then I have 4 okra plants right here that I need to figure out how to support. Actually, I don't have any bamboo stakes or anything yet, but it looks like I'm gonna need them. No flowers yet, but they look really healthy. Over here we have rows of black-eyed peas. These southern peas are just totally thriving right now for me, so I'm really excited. One of my subscribers told me a great way to cook them, so I'm excited to try that. I just don't have enough peas yet, but we'll get there. Now we're on the same raised bed, but the second half of it, and right here we have a lot of soybean plants. There's a lot of yellowing. Yellowing leaves is sometimes hard to figure out whether you're underwatering or overwatering, but we've just had like inches and inches of rain lately, so I think it's overwatering. We'll see how they do as the rainy season continues. Right here is one of my favorite spots in my summer garden. I have the ends of 2 raised beds that are separated by about 2 feet, and this side has 2 Seminole pumpkin plants, and this side has 2 Seminole pumpkin plants right on the edge. And I'm able to make them climb along my black fence. And I think it looks really cool right here where we've got this pumpkin hanging. And I think it looks really cool with all these vines all over the ground. Although I know I'm creating a weed-eating nightmare. My husband doesn't even know how to handle it. But oh well, I love it. Moving on to the third raised bed. I have one more pumpkin that's sitting right here growing. And then we have these black-eyed pea plants that are climbing this trellis. I've been waiting to harvest until the pods look dry and brown like this. This is when you would harvest if your intent is to store dried beans. If you open that up, you can see it's so cool. I had my kids sitting at the kitchen table shelling peas yesterday, and I loved it. Now underneath this A-frame trellis, I put Swiss chard because I thought that the greens would benefit from a little bit of shade. And in the back, I put cucamelon. Now my cucamelon leaves and plant looks great back there, but I'm kind of unsure why it hasn't produced any cucamelons yet. It's been there for probably 6 or 8 weeks now. And I see little flowers, but I haven't seen any cucamelons yet. Let me give you a closer look. There's teeny tiny little cucamelons. Do you see this right here? That's a cucamelon. This right here. But they're not big enough to actually harvest and eat yet, which I'm really excited about. Right here on the end of the third raised bed, I have soybeans growing right up along the fence, and I think this is really fun. My kids love to eat edamame, so I just really wanted to grow them. They're a great cover crop for Florida in the summer. And then we've got 2 plants here of the South Anna Butternut Squash, which is supposed to be resistant to powdery mildew. Now I will say it's still getting powdery mildew and I have to prune off the leaves every couple days, but it's still producing. I've got the start of a butternut squash here, and I'll show you a really cool one I have hanging on the fence right by the orange trees. How cool does that look? It's climbing all up along the fence. It's getting a lot of sunlight and a lot of airflow on those leaves. And I've got a huge butternut squash hanging, and I'm getting overtaken by rain. I will continue this in a bit. Right here I have 2 sugar bell mandarin trees. I bought them in April. The 1 gallon size from backyardcitrustrees.com. I'll put a link in the description box below. They're doing really well, but I'm not expecting any fruit for probably a year or 2. This is a small spot on the side of my house where I planted a whole sweet potato that was sprouted just to see if it would actually create sweet potato tubers. The vines look really good. We'll have to wait another couple months before harvest to see. I talked about this in one of my videos. I'll put a link up here to it. It's my sweet potato slips video. Now we're in the front of my house looking at my mango tree. I'm gonna put in a clip from just a couple months ago where this tree looked like the little Charlie Brown tree. But I've been fertilizing it every like 60 days with citrus tone and giving it a foliar feeding as well with some nutrition. And we've got these 2 mangoes that look really good. I'm gonna buy some mesh fruit bags to protect them from the squirrels because I've already had 1 mango because I already lost my first mango to squirrels, and I don't want that to happen again, so I'm going to buy those stainless steel mesh bags. I'll put a link in the description box if you're interested, but hopefully that will protect these mangoes from squirrels. This is a dwarf Kerry mango tree, and I love how it looks when it's full grown. My local nursery has one planted in the ground, so I knew what it would look like full grown right when I bought it, and I'm just totally in love with it. There's actually several in my neighborhood, which is kind of fun. We drive around and we look at all the different houses that have mango trees out front. This is the last fruit tree I have to talk about today, and it's honestly like my most disappointing tree. I went to my local nursery when I bought this tree, and I was planning to buy a lime tree because I wanted the start of, avocado and lime and cilantro growing so that I could make some guacamole homemade. And then when I got home and planted it, I realized that the tag said it was a Eureka lemon tree. but I chose to plant it anyway instead of going back and returning it and getting the lime. This is the first season that it's produced, and I have been waiting so long for these fruits to turn yellow that I have come to the realization that this is actually a lime tree. So if you know what variety of lime this is, let me know in the comments. Till then, I'm just going to be harvesting these limes and trying to keep them away from all the birds. Every time I come out in my front yard, this tree is just covered with birds pecking at the limes. That's all the plants I have to share with you today. Let me know in the comments if you're growing something successfully in Florida that I'm not growing this summer. I want to hear it from you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.